there, Trekkies and Trekkers. So today I am going to be showing you how I make molds of figures' heads, these little guys, in order to duplicate and make more. A good example is I've got the Andorian head, and if I want to make more, I can just take and go pour some resin into a little, well, I can't yet because I don't have a mold yet, but that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to make an individual mold and how to make a group mold, which is basically where it's an individual is where it's just the one head. The group mold is where I've got a mold that's got multiple heads in there, and I have a failure of labeling them, so I never know what I'm going to get. But let me show you this. So this is where I'm starting. So these are actually some really cool, they're little solo shot cups. These are great for taking, this is one of the Doctor Who companion heads. I'm going to be putting her into this little shot glass on her own so that I can show you how I do the individual one. Now, the way I'll be doing that is I'll be getting some hot glue and putting it on the bottom of the peg and then gluing that into the bottom of the cup. Now, the thing about this is that you're going to want something that will fit the needs of whatever it is that you're making a mold of. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. This is going to be a big group mold. I've got 7 heads that I'm going to be putting in here. And I'm going to be using this cup from the gas station that my dad got. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off, probably right about there, glue it on to where I've drawn that ring, and I'm going to have all the heads inside. Now, a couple of things about if you're doing this. Now, I'm going to want to take and where the heads are, I'm going to need to slice the to get into the mold, because the mold's going to be fairly, it's not going to be hard, but it's easier to get the stuff in and out. So I will be taking, and all the heads will be faced into the circle. Everybody will be facing in, but they all will need to be with their head tilted back, kind of like if you think of it as if I took my head and did this. The reason for that is that back when I was first started making molds, I would just stick the figures' heads in flat. And let me see if one of these, actually none of these are, well, actually his is kind of a pretty good one. His chin sticks down a little bit. And some of the figures that the chin sticks down a lot, this became a problem because when I would go to pour resin in for the figure, for the head, the resin, keep in mind, the head is upside down. It's now like that. So it would pour in, but it wouldn't be able to get all the way up into the chin. Because of the way that it was angled. So I've got several of them that when I make them, I know I'm going to have to take and use some putty and fill in on the chin and sometimes under the nose, depending on the angle of the nose. Because of that. Because it can't reach all the way up in there. It just creates a bubble. And you know what? I'm used to that now. But now I know to tilt the head back slightly so that the resin will get into the chin, it'll get into the nose real good, and all that. And I won't have those problems. Now, it might be interesting, I might have a slight issue, I shouldn't, that with the Andorian, the antennas being tilted slightly back, hopefully they'll still fill up properly. They are quite small, so we'll find out whenever we go to make the first casting of it. But I'm not going to know until then. Now, because I am going to have these in a circle and I have this big space in the middle, I've got one of these little computer panels that I'm just going to be putting in the middle so that I can make duplicates of it if I wanted to and can glue them all over everything. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to hit the camera. So yeah, this is going to be the first thing is I've got to go glue all these heads down, and I'm going to cut the cup and glue it down. But you're going to want to make sure that whatever you're making, whatever you're doing, it's going to be watertight. That's why I'm going to be using hot glue around this barrier here. Is you need it to be watertight because the silicone, it will start coming out. And you're going to be there with the hot glue going, oh God, trying to stop it. Depending on what kind of silicone you've got, you might be okay. If you've got some fast setting silicone, the stuff I'm going to be using, which we'll get to in a few minutes, it's a little bit slower silicone so that it sets up real nicely. But it'll have to sit overnight. So we'll get to that shortly. Let's get these heads glued down first, and when we come back, that's where we'll be. So we're back. I have unintentionally created a head hinge, the circling of men's heads around a computer. So that's creepy looking, but got that head in there. And if you look from the side, you can see how I've got them where they're all at that slight angular tilt back, but everybody's got plenty of room to get that done. So this is what I use. This is Moldstar 15 Slow. You can use the other silicone molding kits. This is just a preference. I've used some of the others and I think they're great. This is what they're going to look like. I'm in a couple of bottles that look like this. And the way that you mix it up is you do a 50-50 ratio of the two parts in order to make the mold. The good thing with this stuff is you've got quite a little while you're working on it before you have to get it into the pot. I think you've got about an hour. Here, I'm going to switch back to this camera for a second. If you're new to molding, this comes with an instruction booklet that is a lot for something that should be relatively simple. But this is the Moldstar 15. It tells us on here that we want to do a 1-to-1 ratio. I wonder if I can get this to show up on the other camera, actually. Let's see. Okay, it's a tiny bit blurry, but hopefully you guys can make out what that says. You see Moldstar 15, and we're going to look at the info across here. The ratio is 1-to-1. Tells us what the viscosity is, the specific gravity, specific volume. But here's what we want. We want pot life and cure time. So pot life is once I get it poured and have the two chemicals interacting, how long before they get so thick that they are no longer workable. And according to this, that does say 50, right? Yeah, okay. Sorry, old man needing glasses at the moment. And then the cure time is 4 hours. I'm, of course, going to be leaving this overnight because I'm going to be heading to bed here in about another hour or so. And, yeah. So it's all pretty easy. The color of this, when it's ready, it'll be green for this particular one. So that's the useful information. They have the Moldstar, the fast stuff. I would not want to work with it because you have a pot life of 6 minutes and it sets up hard in 30, which is nuts. I guess if you're needing a mold of something now, that's the way to go, but I wouldn't want to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm kind of guesstimating on this. I know that I need one shot glass worth, which would be a half shot glass of the blue, a half shot glass of the yellow. But I'm going to need quite a bit for the big mold. So I am going to do 3 of these shot glasses of yellow, 3 of the blue. Mix them all together. That's what I've got the bamboo stir sticks here for. Popsicle sticks, you can use those. I've got a big plastic cup that I'll pour it all into. One thing to be aware of, whatever you are using to mix in is going to get messed up. Do not use silicone to mix it in because it will destroy it. Absolutely destroy it because it'll stick to it. One thing you can do, as long as it's, this is all, everything I'm using is plastic. And I've used on the cardboard, it's the shiny side up of the cardboard. So it's not going to stick to any of that stuff. Don't have to worry about that. But you can get some spray that you can spray inside that'll keep everything from sticking. You can get Vaseline and a little paintbrush and paint everything down inside there with Vaseline to make sure that it doesn't stick. But I don't need to worry about that with any of this stuff because all of this stuff is not going to be stuck to it. I've done this dozens of times. I've literally got boxes and boxes of molds that I use all the time. And none of this is stuck to it. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to, I'll show you how I pour it up. And then once I get I'm going to pour it into the little one first. And then I'm going to start pouring it into this one. And once I get it poured into this, I'm probably going to stop because I want to have time to make sure that I'm not going to leak. I didn't water test this yet because you'd water test something, then you've got to wait for it to dry back out. And I didn't want to wait for that. So I'm cutting corners. I feel like I got this sealed pretty good. I've got hot glue all the way around that lip pretty tightly. But yeah, as soon as I get it poured in there, I'm probably going to stop. And when we come back, it'll be in in about probably 12-ish hours. Because I'm hopefully going to sleep for about 8 hours. And maybe, hey, who knows? I have nights where I only sleep 2 hours. We'll find out. Should be, hopefully, at least 8. And then I'll get up and get my day started tomorrow. And then we'll unmold and see how everything turned out. So with that. since I poured last... Sorry, I knocked on my table and my dog decided that that meant somebody was knocking at the door. One moment. Okay, so it's been about 13 hours since we did the pours. And... Alright, let's see if we can do this now. Been about 13 hours since we did the pours. This one, it's good. It's hard, but it's rubbery, which is what it's supposed to be. Now, the individual one might look right, but it's actually, let me see if I can get it on film, on camera. You can't see it, but it's a little bit sticky. So, I need to let this one sit for a while longer. I'm not sure what I did differently. I mean, it's all... I mean, yes, I did a batch first, and I'm wondering, because if you remember, this one came... Well, no, I mixed the old and the new. So I don't know. I don't know why that... We're going to find out. Hopefully the bottom part of this one is set up, because you remember I had to do this in 2 batches. Ooh, that's a weird soft spot. We're going to find out. Let's get this one open. Now, I'm trying to keep this so that if I want to, I can reuse the cup part in the future for another mold. But the cardboard is obviously garbage. I like to be able to make big, large ones. See, this isn't... There's nothing unusual about this, so I don't know. What was odd about the one in the red cup. Hopefully in a few more hours. Maybe it's just because it's... Well, that doesn't make sense either. So, if you're in the comments, feel free to throw in some theories as to why all of this should have been set up in 4 hours. I gave it 13. And it's... A little trick, by the way, if you're ever trying to keep it where you can reuse, get a round paintbrush and just run it around the edge to break that seal between the 2 pieces, and it'll should be ready to... there we go. Pop on out. So, let's see. Okay, so we can go ahead and get this, the computer terminal popped out. And I did notice just now that there was a couple of sticky spots. Yeah, there's one right here on the side. So So I'm wondering if mixing the old batch and the new batch, because I mean the batch that I had wasn't terribly old. I think I got it maybe 3 to 4 months ago, so it should still be good. I don't know why it's behaving the way it is. Oh well. So we've got the hot glue like that. That's going to be on the top of all of these. But we're not going to be able to just, I mean, we can kind of try, but it's doubtful that we can pop those out. Well, I don't know. Whoever this is starting to kind of pop out. But the best thing to do is to take and do a little slice on these. And what you should do, get a good sharp knife. First, cut straight down a little ways. And then you want to do a sort of a lightning bolt or a zigzag. You're going to want to go a little ways either left or right and then turn it and go a little ways the other direction. The reason being is so that in the future when you go to reuse the mold, the two pieces will have to interlock and it'll make a better mold. So I get a little line to start it off. Might need a better knife, actually. Let me... trying to find... There's the one I used before. That's a real good knife. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I cut straight down, then I'm going to cut off at an angle like this. Then I'm going to turn it. And go at an angle like that for a little ways. And that's probably... I can feel the tip of the knife coming in contact with the head most of the way. And yeah, I can now spread that out. And get do be careful when you're doing this, don't cut yourself. And I can now pull that head out, which means that I can now get the knife in a little better, clean that cut real good. Cool. So now I'm going to have to do that on all of these. So that I can use them in the future. So I'm going to be working on that, getting those ready. We'll come back and take a look at them, make a mold with one, and hopefully in about another 12 hours or so, my single red cup one has set up. If not, I might have to redo this one. So let's come back to that in just a few minutes. Or from your perspective in just a second. Okay, so it's been a few more hours, and I decided to just try, and I did eventually get this out, but as you were about to see, this is really sticky, and I do not know why. So, little tip. I've had something similar to this happen, but it's when I was doing shrink molds or stuff. Don't know what went weird this time. I should be able to remove the head, which is what we're going to do here in just a second. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting this mold into the windowsill of my room so that it will be getting ultraviolet light, sunlight for a few days. So that hopefully whatever didn't get set correctly will adjust in the next few days, and off gas or whatever. So let's get the head out. It should pop out easily. It seems to be holding its shape. You see it's got the shape of the inside of the cup. Okay, got it out. Like I said, I got her out. I'm concerned that that one did not come out correctly, which may mean that I'm going to have to remake that mold, because the lines on the inside looked awful soft. But I won't know until I try and make a casting of it. So that's where we're at on that. That one we're not going to get to demonstrate any further in this video. But give me just a second. We're going to set up and take a cast at least of the computer console, just so you can see how that's done. Oh God, it's so sticky. It's like a big blue booger. Okay. At least it doesn't leave stuff on your hands. One moment, and we will be right back. Okay, well, here we are at the final part of getting casting a head, making it. Words. We're actually not going to make any heads at the moment. This was the mold that we made earlier. This is actually a mold of the Bajoran Temple statues that you see in Deep Space Nine that I need to make a few for someone. So I'm going to use it to show you a nice big example of what it looks like when you make a casting from a mold. And I know that this holds 60 milliliters. So I'm gonna make 80 milliliters, or in other words, do 40 and 40 of what this. This is Smooth Cast 30 liquid plastic. This stuff is awesome. This is what the bottles are gonna look like. You get one part that's kind of thick, and then the other part that's really thin, thankfully. And this stuff, I mean, it starts to kick in about 5 minutes. And it sets up in about 10 to 15 minutes. You're supposed to let it have at least a half an hour to fully set, but you can take it out after about 15 minutes, but it'll still be a little bit soft and a little bit warm. And then this is just a mold that I got, a silicone mold that I've got that I use for pouring off any excess. Sometimes I have a little bit left in the bottom of my cup, which this is the cup we're going to be using. This is a silicone cup. You see it's got the markers on the side of it. You're not going to be able to see it while I'm filling it because I've got to be able to look at it and read it. But anything that's left in there, I'll pour off in there, and it's going to look weird, but whatever. So we're just going to focus on filling this, and we're going to do the little computer console that's in here. And I've got a stir stick there, so that is going to be it, and let's get started. So I'm going to pour 40 milliliters. Of part B, and keep in mind that you've got to move fast once you get these in the cup. The larger the batch you make, the faster it's going to start kicking, which is terrifying. I do a 8 count one direction, and then I reverse it and do an 8 count the other direction. Do that about 4 or 5 times. And then I'm going to pour that little bit in there. And then we're going to pour this in here. And you're going to see in just a moment it does not take very long for this stuff to start kicking. And I'm going to actually we're just going to chit chat for a second, because you're going to get a kick out of this as you get to watch this change colors in real time. You can see that right now it's still clear. You can see to the bottom of the mold. Sorry, I've got paint. I was painting earlier. There's nothing wrong with my fingers. That's just black paint on my fingers. So yeah, I can actually see some white spots starting to pop up in there already. One thing I do try to do sometimes is to shake the table a little bit, get the bubbles to come up a little. But yeah, this stuff, it works really fast. It's really neat, and makes quick work of this. And yeah, I didn't have any left over, which is good, so I don't need this. This is a good idea, though, if you're ever going to get into casting. Just keep a spare mold off to the side, so if you do accidentally make a little too much resin, you can just pour this off, and then eventually these cups will get full, and I'll have extras of these bolt shapes. Which, let me tell you, this happens often enough that I have a whole Ziploc bag full of these shapes. So, oh, I can see it. It's starting to change color. Can you see it? It's starting to cloud up. This has all been real time. Let's see, if I put my hand over it, it's quite warm. Oh, look, that one's starting to do it. You can really see it now. It's starting to cloud up. That's the chemical starting to get firm. If I was to put a stick in there and try and pull it up, it would come up like a gooey ooze. It's like super thick and disgusting. And the thing that's really interesting is that it gets harder where it's denser. So you noticed how it started here at the deepest part where the shield is, and then it worked its way out, and the head was last, and then up here where it's a real shallow area will be the last part to set. And the same thing happened here where it was deepest is where it hardened first. So yeah, I wanted to look, you can see the shallow part there starting to harden. So anyways, now that you get to see that, I think that's pretty cool. I'm gonna just let it now sit for 20-30 minutes, and we'll come back and I'll pull it out and I'll let you take a look at it just to end the video. Okay, so it's been actually about 45 minutes. I went and used the bathroom and did some other stuff and took care of some things. So let's get these out of the mold. Let's start with the computer terminal, and that popped out. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. You can see all the details have picked up. Well, you can't so much as I can because I have 150 lights on in here. One thing that you could do, I get these foam sanding blocks, and it wouldn't hurt to take it on the back. Just run that for a few minutes to smooth out the back, because the backs are going to be a little rough. But this one, the back is actually, for some reason right here, you probably can't see it yet, there's a bubble that popped up real bad. But take a look at that. So I don't know if you can tell, that picked up the details. I mean, see, there's even this fine line of where the little Bajoran symbol is. It picked up the details of that. So good. That's one of the huge advantages. Of course, it's not sitting flat because that's the bubbles. But I'll run some sandpaper, the sanding block against that for a few minutes while I'm watching a movie, and it'll be ready to glue to a panel or a wall or however they choose to use it. Got to make a couple more for them. But this is the advantage of doing these molds, is that you can make something, duplicate it, and have really nice detailed duplications from that point on. And this is nice sturdy plastic. This is a good slab. It's going to hold up for a while. So I encourage you to give it a try yourself. And I'm going to be making a video actually, simultaneous to this, on how to make a shrink mold. Where you can make a mold like one of these, that after you take the item out, the mold itself will shrink, and then you can make a smaller version of, say, this statue. Or in this case, it's a head. I'm taking a Mego 1/8 or 1/9 scale head and shrinking it down to hopefully where eventually it will fit on the 1/14 scale Star Trek figures. So join me again in probably a couple of weeks for that video, or just go click on it now if this is like 10 years in the future and what I'm saying is pointless, just like life. So I'll see you next time or something, and I guess have a good day. Go make something.
If you enjoy my videos and want to see more, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Also, you can support the show by signing up on Patreon, or head over to Zazzle to pick up prints of my artwork, prints on canvas, t-shirts, and other merch. You can find me on social media. For more information and updates on the channel, all info is below. If you didn't enjoy the video, why are you still here? Do you want a song? Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, them, 3 bags full. One for the master, who can screw himself. You can listen to somebody else.